Hello, and welcome to the first ever episode of Faith in the Gaps. My name is Em, and I do a couple of other I do one other podcast, and I do a couple of vlogs. But this one is specifically just geared over faith in the gaps. So, for all of you that don't know, I have an Alba dissertation in public policy and administration from Walden. So basically, I've completed all the coursework. For that, I just didn't go and do the dissertation. I just didn't. I had that moment of clarity, as we like to call it. I have a Master's of Arts in Practical Theology from Regent University, and I have a Master's of Arts in Adult and Higher Education with an emphasis in Criminal Justice. And I also have a Master's of Science in Information Assurance. And the funny thing about all of it is, in my job, I don't use a dang one of those degrees. None of them. And that's the sad part. But anyway, we're going to talk about faith in the gaps. So my hope is with this show, I think it helps provide me with some clarity, I guess, in regards to faith in general and religion in general. So I'll go through my experiences. I'll reference the Bible. So I may mention other faiths and their works, because I have read every major work of every major religion out there. So I think that makes me view things a little differently. We'll talk a little politics and its relationship to faith and religion and society in general. For all of you that don't know anything about me, I'm technically a millennial Gen Xer. I fall in the gap, so I was born in 80, and so therefore I fall into that gap range. So I identify more with Gen Xers. That's how that is. So it's just kind of what it is. I was baptized in an Air Force chapel. But I attended, church at a Methodist church for a long time. And then my parents decided, well, we're done with this. And we went Presbyterian because my sister's best friend's father was a minister in there. Then after that, we moved to South Texas from North Texas. And we tried going back to church, and we tried to go back to the Methodist church, and it was really interesting. They had a female preacher there, and my mother clearly stated, I'm not going to a church. It wasn't the daughters of Levi, but the sons of Levi. And we never stepped foot in a church again. However, my parents did make sure that I went to private schools, parochial schools nonetheless. So I went to, I started out at the Methodist daycare kindergarten or thing and in North Texas. And then when I went to an Episcopal, at the time, they're now Anglican, and I'll go into a little bit about that later on in a couple episodes. They went in to an Episcopal church, and then from there we came down to South Texas, went again to an Episcopal church, and then a Catholic school opened up right up the street. So I was transferred to the Catholic school, and we spent time in the Catholic school, and I spent that year and then 3 years of high school in Catholic school, and then decided to break away from that and went to public school for the rest of my time until I decided to pursue my second master's degree, and then went to Our Lady of the Lake. And from there, went to for my information assurance degree, and then I went to Walden Online and then Regent Online. So anyway, that's kind of how I have a wide plethora of experience with multiple religions, or multiple faiths, I guess, or denominations, I guess is more the appropriate, if you want to go the proper term here, denominations. But anyway, that being said, so I've had, my life has been full of challenges, but I don't sit there and blame every challenge on Satan either. So I know a lot of those challenges were put in front of me just to be put in front of me. For a long time, I've thought I'm God's little comedy play. And, but I fell in love with one church. I did. And it took me a long time, and I was on my second marriage, and, we still had access to our, my stepchildren, and we decided that we needed to go to church. And my husband was baptized and confirmed as an Anglican, and so we decided to go. I thought, Episcopal, okay. Well, I did some research, and apparently in the 1970s, but didn't really happen until the 90s is more of when it really started. There was a split in the Episcopal Church, and some of the churches that were more traditional and high church went to ACNA or Cana, and then the others stayed with the Episcopal Church and the Church of England. And so these churches that went separate get their apostolic succession from typically places in Africa. So, because they follow the traditional format. No women priest, no gay marriage, none of that. And, it's all politics. Really, when you look at it, it's all politics. And I think that's the frustrating part about all of it, is that religion is where I go, church is where I go to get away from all of that. It's my refuge. It's my thing. And it was destroyed. And, my husband and I, we found our little church in a little subdivision. It was, the preacher was very much like a father figure. But I found that, I was really involved with that. He helped me get to a point where I was an aspirant to become a deaconess in that church. And, there's evil people in this world. And it's not that Satan consumes them. It's not any of that. I don't genuinely believe Satan, controls people. I think people just make poor choices and they become self-absorbed. And that's where the problem lies. And there was a conflict between a member parishioner who, habitual liar and all that, and I proved that real quick, and the head priest. Well, head priest leaves and gets kicked out by our, at the time, bishop. Well, bishop was all proud and all, I'm a former Satanist. Well, dude, and, you're talking to a bunch of deeply religious folks when you're saying this, and we're all sitting in Ballard Hall, and he's puffing his chest out, and every time he'd mention that, he'd put his hands on his hips and say, look at what I've done, which means it was how he said it. And it was but every time he talked about his faith in Christianity, his shoulders curled in like he was forcing it, for lack of a better term. There was some real uneasiness with me there, and I can't go back. I can't go back there because I can't be under that bishop, knowing former Satanist. Now, mind you, I'm not here to judge people, although as Christians we can judge each other, and as long as the Bible supports what we're saying. And that's where I guess my thing is, you know, I know there's gaps in the Bible, and there's conflicting statements in the Bible, and, you know, after we left that church, and I'll go more into that story because it plays a big part into how I am now. You know, we took some time off, and it was just like, I can't go. I'm too upset. I finished my degree, and then in 2017, we started attending a church where my former priest was at. And he wasn't practicing, but he was kind of there as kind of a pseudo, you know, whatever. And his quote-unquote adopted daughter was there, who totally ignored me because I wasn't useful to her anymore, which was hurtful. But, you know, you kind of live and learn with that. And we're going, and this is the man that taught me women aren't to be behind the rail. This is the man that sat here and preached to high heaven. He would never call another female priest sister, you know, or father. It was a contrast of what I do as I say, but not as I do. That man sat there and took communion from a female priest, or a female provider of the host. I can't remember what they're called right now. He even took it from the priest who allowed this, which to me is, you shouldn't do that anyway. And to sit there and he watched us receive communion, and every time a female came by, we just got up and left. Like, me and my husband, we just got up and left because we weren't going to do that. We don't believe that. Which, you know, is, some days I wonder, like, do you go with the masses or do you stand true? And I guess that's another big gap area that I'm still trying to figure all out. But I guess we'll figure it out eventually. Anyway, so we attended there for a while, and after that, you know, I tried to do CPE, so I could do pastoral care, because I'm really into that. That's really my passion. And I couldn't find a volunteer church. I couldn't do a church and be a volunteer at that because I just couldn't dedicate myself to a church again. I've lost that ability to do that. And then, because I'm hypercritical, and I shouldn't be, but I am, of all the churches, and I want something back to the way it was when I was attending my small church. And I had, so we attended a Russian Orthodox church, we first started we attended one church that was Orthodox. I can't remember which sect. I'll have to look that up and remember. But I'll cover that in an episode. That time there, it was okay. It wasn't my thing. So, but I went to the Russian Orthodox church, and you know, they say what I believe, they do what I believe, but yet again, former Episcopal priest. Tried going back to the Episcopal church prior to all that, after we left the small little church, and I did my internship there for my master's in practical theology, and it was like insanity amuck. It was just crazy. It was like taking the chaos of the public world and bringing it inside a church building. I just didn't understand. So, but anyway, so I'll go into each one of those areas and times of life, and talk about the chaos and its ever ceasing, never ceasing, I guess is the more proper term for it. And we'll go through things if things come up along the way. I'll probably do this about once a week, maybe twice. It depends on what's, going on in the news in my life and all of that. So, but anyway, I hope to discuss more of why I think what I think, and I'll eventually relate it all, and I'll talk about how as a millennial / Gen Xer, it's everything from my childhood is changing and is almost gone, and so it's difficult. And when you put your faith and trust in something, now granted, we're all sinners, and I know this, but to put my faith and trust in the church, and then to have people force it to kick me out and remove me and not do what they've said they're going to do, which is, the priest is to protect his flock, and that's not what happens. It can put a kink on how you view everything else. Like, the whole impact of losing my church has made me lose trust in a lot of areas. And, I go and try to find a church, and I wanted to attend a church service near our house yesterday, run by, and now he was a deacon when I was at the small church. He's now a priest, and Deacon Barry, or Father Barry now, I guess. And I wanted to attend his, but then I remember, the main perpetrator of the problem has died. He died about a year ago. And, but still, there are other people there that believe the problem child, for lack of a better term. And I don't want to cause disharmony in the church he's trying to build. He's trying to build a church, and I don't want to disturb that. So I decided not to go out of respect for him. But it would have been nice to go. It's a church planner, and it'd be small, but the people that are attending there are the people that attended my small church a long time ago. And so, I've just determined that it's probably best not to do that. I've got friends that attended this small church that left with us because of the issues that occurred, and have gone Roman Catholic. They have found their place in the Roman Catholic Church and love it. But because my husband and I both come from some divorces, $1,500 is not something I really want to spend to join a church. I shouldn't have to. I should tithe, and so instead of tithing to a church, I make donations to people, places, and things. Times and talent. It's just what I do, and I figure my hope is to eventually figure out something or someone, and if I could find a church somewhere. And there have been days where I've thought about starting my own church using the 1928 BCP, not aligning myself with anything Anglican at all, nor Episcopal. Be a non-denominational church that uses the 1928 Book of Common Prayer, and just doing that. And while I don't really believe that women should lead a church, 1 Timothy 2:12, maybe I can start it, and then maybe have someone take it over. But I guess that costs money, time, and effort too. And, with everything going on in my life, that's a little harder to do. So it's kind of interesting. And I think there are moments of faith in the gaps of life. And I think as Christians, we tend to need to it helps having this to talk to and people hopefully listen, because it allows me the opportunity to remind myself that there is faith in the gaps. So, again, my name is Em, and I'll be doing this show once a week. So, you guys have a great week. If I do another podcast between now and then, you'll see it. Please subscribe to the channel, and we hope you guys have a great week. Bye.